like it's us guys. James, are you good to recap what we talked about last team meeting?
Yeah.
Ashley was actually on a cruise last week, and so I was this morning trying to reassemble the slides. So I did move your ones that you had up before. What did I just do? I know I just shared the screen. You probably see that, but I don't see where my other screen went. Give me one sec.
Yeah, I don't think we need to look at my slides if that's what you're looking for. I think we can skip them.
Well, let's just kind of talk a little bit about that since that's been our format. And then I think we didn't really get anybody else that's going to do a share like that, but I think those of us that were at Cabo, we could share some of the stuff, our takeaways from that. So yeah, let's chat a little bit about that first, James.
Okay. I don't even know what quote I had, to be honest, so we'll just wing it. But so last time we talked a lot about kind of energy and vibration and frequency and stuff. Oh, there it is. I'll read it.
Yep.
So just as our brains can be wired in ways that hold us back, we can retrain them to scan for the good things in life, to help us see more possibility, to feel more energy, and to succeed at higher levels. I think I asked everyone to kind of pay attention if they felt if they felt like a shift in energy. Did anybody have an experience like that at all?
Well, I'll make a comment on that. I mean, obviously last week being in Cabo, the energy was different there just because of the type of people that went to an event there and some of the rooms that we were in and the presentations. And I noticed several times though, like particularly like at the hot tub or this and that, there was almost every single time there was an alternate energy. Let's call it a negative energy, that kind of like, in my opinion, ruined some of the conversation and everything because they wanted to talk about, politics or something negative, and it just kind of like dissipated the excitement that everybody else was having and changed the whole conversation. So as far as like just feeling the energy, sometimes like even Lynn and I, after walking back to our room after general session and stuff like that, where we were both on the same energy, we're over talking each other and we're sharing ideas, and it was really good. And then other times it wasn't. So I mean, that's kind of what you're talking about, I think. I did just pay attention more to distancing myself from the negative energy and not participating.
Yeah. Well, that's what I noticed when we were, I don't remember what day it was. Anyway, we were sitting there having dinner outside, and somehow we got on the talk about politics or whatever. And you kind of really, I noticed you kind of cut that off pretty quickly before we went into the weeds, right? Because just even beginning to talk about it, I noticed a sense of energy because it brought back like up past thoughts and feelings when I was big into watching that nonsense. But then we quickly diverted it back to like a more productive conversation. And it was noticeable for me. But I really don't have a lot more to say about that other than, um, well, this is kind of one of my little Cabo takeaways, is that um, the Cabo was awesome. I think it should be something that people should attend at least once, and then from my perspective, once you attend once, you want to attend all of them. But because the energy is so high, and what you learn, you see that these people went through similar struggles or different struggles, but either way, there was kind of a struggle to get to where they're currently at. And so they had to get out of that negative energy that came into their life, increase their energy, and be aware. I guess they had to be aware of where they're at and where they wanted to go, and then do things to increase that energy to get to where they were going. And through all the stories, it just, I was going to say it gave me hope, but I don't think that's the right terminology, but it increased my energy to where it gives me more confidence just to go out and be me in the marketplace, whatever that looks like, because that's all these people were doing. They, I mean, each presentation was so different, and the way each person went about it was completely different. Even on specifically on the luxury panel, one person's like, "I've never done an open house," and one guy's like, "That's all I did was open houses," and
Yeah,
they're both super duper successful. It just comes down to what works best with their energy. Like one person doesn't want to do open houses, that's going to be low energy. They're going to probably have lower success than if the other guy did it who really liked doing that. So just lots of eye-opening things. So it's always good to see those things. I think most of us could, if we were asked questions about this, answer the question right, but to see it in practice with real people's kind of put some meat on the bone for me.
I kind of found
That's all I have to say about that.
that I found that was a theme throughout the whole thing too, is people just talking about the journey of and this kind of goes to Kaylee's story too, but finally giving themselves permission to be their authentic self. And their business increased, their happiness increased, their growth of their EXP organization or their transactions, just because they were doing things that were in alignment with who they were. Which also, ties in with your frequency stuff, James, is just doing what feels right instead of doing what other people are doing and trying to mimic their success in your world. Because it's different. Like you said, somebody might really enjoy open houses and somebody else tries to do them, but their energy isn't into it the whole time, because it's just not something they enjoy doing. So finding that and then owning that affects not just our personal life, but our business life for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the energy was incredible. It was awesome there. People were having a good time, positive attitude. I mean, it's just such a beautiful setting that how can you not be happy while you're there, right? And I met this couple that were relatively new to EXP, not to real estate, and their energy was off the charts. Like it was their first event. They were really, new into EXP, and they said that they got someone to come with them that was with a different brokerage, a friend of theirs, and they said they got that friend of theirs to Cabo absolutely kicking and screaming. Like they did not want to go to Cabo. They didn't want to do this. And they joined EXP while they were in Cabo. And
It's
it was
awesome.
complete 180 because of what they experienced. And that energy for me made me think about everything in life. Have you ever noticed when you start something exciting, when you first get there, it's a lot of times it's the most excited you're ever going to be about any one thing. And then 90 days, 80 days, a year later, even though nothing has actually changed about what you're so excited about, and maybe it's even improved, it's just human nature that your excitement level might dip a little bit, even though it's just as exciting as it always was, because it's not brand new. And isn't that the same with real estate in general? When you first got your real estate license, you're so excited. And then, maybe 2 or 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you have a couple hard transactions, you have a little bit of a slow stretch, and all of a sudden your energy and excitement level is not as high as it was. So I fed off some of the people that I met there that had that energy. And I'm like, there's no reason for us not to have incredible positive attitude and energy towards real estate and EXP and everything that they're doing on a regular basis. That's kind of the energy I felt this last week. And good to see some old friends too, because we've been to a lot of events and, reconnect, and it's energy was really good this week. So good opportunity to talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, I noticed several conversations about making the distinction between culture, which could be, your words on the wall, that defines your culture, but separating that from what it's like to have a community. And when you're there, like you said, Eric, you run into people that you saw last time or that you've met in workplace or whatever. And it's just overwhelming how much everybody is willing to give you what they have to make you more successful. You know, almost every conversation we have, what can we do for you? Is there anything we can do for you? I'd love to send people to you in Utah, blah, blah, blah. The community is just different than a defined culture. A lot of people talk about culture, but what does it really mean? I mean, to me, that's not something you can feel like the way you feel the camaraderie in the community at a place like that. So anyway. Shana, what about you? You got anything to add to that? You were there.
Was there. I feel like Eric kind of said what I was feeling. Like I personally was just kind of dragging in my business lately and kind of feeling like that excitement that you get when you pop up out of bed ready to go. I just wasn't feeling that and was kind of struggling. And I feel like this reignited my fire, and there were a lot of connecting pieces for both James and I and how we work together, things we're going to do moving forward, and really excited about it. There are some changes that I need to make personally with my time blocking and scheduling that was a little bit eye-opening, and implementing that and just kind of getting out of the normal routine to make something change. Are you waking up? Is a little daunting sometimes, but I'm excited to make those changes and work on the things that are fresh and new and gonna move our needle forward.
Hey Shane, I've got a quick question for you. When you talk about time blocking and scheduling, it's a pretty straightforward concept. So was your eye-opening situation just that you were not executing on it, or is there something I'm missing about time blocking and scheduling?
So I personally am still figuring that out, but I would say more on the execution. I feel like I was spending a lot of time educating, sitting in meetings, like learning and doing the things, but I'm not like implementing those things. Like, because I don't want to say there's no time. There's plenty of time. I'm just the way that I've blocked everything. I'm not adding in those things to implement into my schedule. And so I started yesterday, I'm making a list of those things that I want to implement, and then I'm going to be shifting them into my time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so like income producing activities versus non-income producing activities like education.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, just curious. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I can totally relate that to Shana. Lynn and I had a lot of conversations around that front, and now that we're back, it's just like we're getting bombarded from all, we've been gone for a while, and so she's like being pulled all these different directions, and so am I, and it's like, I didn't probably take enough time to just sit and work one-on-one with her, but we had some of those same conversations. More for me, a lot of times I spend time doing what I like doing. I love the phone calls too. I love the mentoring. I'll talk about something for an hour that really only should have taken 10 minutes, if I was being productive, using my time and helping whoever it is I'm talking to. And so the money making and the ROI activities need to be focused on more. You can't just willy-nilly fill your day and your schedule and time block to do all these things, because I've been doing a ton of masterminding, and there's only a few of those relationships that are really leading towards monetization, where the others are just fun. And so I need to be a little bit more selective in that for sure.
I would also say, here, same thing for me. Like, when I look at my February, it was a blast. Like, I had probably more fun than I've had in a long time. I was on the podcast and presenting and teaching classes and at classes and things like that. And and meeting people and networking, and not that it was all wasted, but Friday, my husband and I sat down and we were like, okay, what are the action steps that actually lead to financial results? And so that I'm in the same place of just figuring it out. A lot of times you just have to decide on the action steps, like reverse engineer it, decide on what those action steps are, execute them, and do it for a while and see if it gets you to where you want to go. But I can't just be like, oh yeah, that's so fun. I'm like catching butterflies, you know? Like, oh, how pretty. Although that fills your soul a lot and it's not bad, but taking the time to continue on those action steps like is so important. The focus, right? What's the focus? So
I think this is great because it sounds like we can all collaborate on this more as we progress. It kind of has to do with the slide that's up there too. So one thing I've been doing lately is in some of these relationships or whatever, being a connector. I've connected people that I'm meeting him, but I've been purposely like, who else do I know that I could introduce to this person? And so that gratitude, I mean, I'm getting text messages or phone calls and says, oh my God, thank you so much for hooking me up with Jason. We're going to do business together. We're doing this thing. And then just the evolution of that, I'm on a Zoom call with a guy, his name's Josh, and he's got these mastermind groups. He's built and sold 6 businesses. He's helped other businesses do what we do, start a podcast, get to 100,000 followers in 1 month. He's great at Facebook ads and marketing. And I'm expressing what we're talking about right now. Man, I love doing this stuff and being a connector, but I don't make any money doing it. And he's like, well, I can show you how to do that. That's my business, is monetizing relationships. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You want to do an event in my pool? But people that we're meeting, it is fun, Kaylee. I'm doing the same thing you are. It's like getting in these rooms and then I take them to lunch and then I'm just, but it's deeper than just that. You're meeting different people at different events, whatever, that could cross connect, that becomes a mutual benefit. Like the guy I told you, Josh, that does all this marketing stuff. It led me also to tell him about how great EXP is. And it's like, oh my God, if you were a real estate agent, it would be so great for you to participate in my lead, because you can advertise on over 800 MLSs across the country. It's brand new. I don't even know that much about it. Eric knows a little bit more than I, and I don't even know how much you guys know about it, but it's in patent pending status. They've only got a few people in their group compared to the size of the company. But when I'm talking to somebody that already knows how to do that stuff, and then showing them a tool to where they can do what they already know how to do and monetize that, that's different than saying, oh my gosh, as a real estate agent, I really got to get good at Facebook ads. I really got to get good at generating leads through social media or this and that. But when you're talking to somebody that is already good at that, I wasn't even anticipating during that conversation that he was just like, I think I should get my license. And the conversation from there just, was really great. I actually recorded it. Maybe I'll share it with you guys, but yeah, looking for those relationships, those opportunities where we can add value to their life. So I'm looking at him as like, I want to learn how to do what you do. But then I realized I already have something that could benefit him as well, too. So by telling him about the brokerage, and we're national and global, one brokerage, all those different components, he didn't even understand, because he's not in our world, right? That agents share referrals back and forth and get referral fees. He said he's got a buddy in California that he's sent a bunch of deals to that buys like $5-10 million properties. And he's never gotten a referral fee for it because he's not an agent. And he's like, that son of a bitch just sent me a gift card and I could have got what? He sent me a thank you card and I thought that was super nice and stuff, because I just hooked him up with my friends that were buying in California, and he's a rock star agent out there. And I see him get out his phone. He's like, calculators. So anyway, sparking some interest in what we already do and what we know, and this great company we're at with people that aren't even in the industry. I think, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Gene or Brent that said the most successful agents at EXP aren't with EXP yet. And they said something about the top producers or the future top producers at EXP aren't even agents yet.
I
So
think
it kind of adds another
think it
purpose to
was
all that
Gene.
networking.
I think it was Gene. And yeah, just to think that the top revenue share earner, top producers haven't even joined yet. They might not even be in a country that has opened yet.
Mhm.
Incredible.
You're just one conversation away, they say, right?
One conversation away that changes your life. Like the what's the lady's name that signed that brought Brent Gove into EXP? I can't remember.
Fezeron, Sheila.
Shelley.
Fezeron.
They did not know each other. She just called him up and said that she went to a training that he did, and she was so impressed with him and really focused on how well he did and how much she appreciated his knowledge and experience. And she introduced EXP to him, and he knew that he was not going to move brokerages or join, but he wanted to educate himself. And look what that did for her. Completely changed the direction of her family and life, probably for generations. So pretty incredible. It is one conversation away, and you have to take those opportunities when you can. And I think locally and international could be a huge deal that way.
Mhm. Yeah, I think some of the things that EXP is releasing that are exclusive to EXP, because there's a lot of great brokerages out there, guys. I mean, EXP is not the only place to be for everybody. I like it. I'm staying. It works for me. I like the leadership. I like the friends in the community and all that stuff. It's not to say, well, we couldn't sell real estate at another brokerage, right? But there are just certain things that are coming out and that they're focusing on that bring some exclusivity to being here, not just by being in real estate, but specifically by being in EXP, like the My Lead, like Bundle Select, and other things that they have in the works. So I'm just realizing lately that should, for me, just for me, be a little bit more of my focus. And on this idea sex topic, as far as combining ideas and like having a whole new opportunity, because of that experience I had with Josh that I just told you about. He lives in Idaho, but I met him at a mastermind event. We sat next to each other. So just talking, right? And then we connected afterwards. Last week, so the week before I went to Cabo, I was at lunch with a friend that's getting a divorce, and we were just kind of catching up, and he was telling me, you know, all this depressing stuff that's been going on and this and that. But in that conversation, he was also looking for a new home for his real estate license, somewhere that could bring some excitement back into his career. And he's just like, I just don't enjoy anything, really. And it turns out that his son, who's like 19 years old, is this marketing genius that Facebook ads, generating leads. He literally called a company that was hosting a seminar in Salt Lake just to sign up. And he happened to get the guy hosting the event on the phone. And the guy liked him and connected with him so much. He says, dude, would you come work for us and help us fill the room? He's 19 years old. He made 10 grand in commissions his first month working for this event company. So anyway, that same conversation that I just had with Josh, now I had it with him. It's like, oh, we have this thing in our brokerage. So now his son's going to get his license, and it created this whole new connection for him. I never thought I'd be able to work with my son, but this is his wheelhouse. This is what he's good at. And if he got his license, then now I get to work together with my son, where there's some obvious distance in his family with getting a divorce and stuff. So anyway, just Shana, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it kind of tied into what Kaylee said too and what you were saying, but I feel like one of my biggest takeaways from the whole trip that was interesting was you kind of said something, you tend to just do what you love. And I like to focus on agents who I want everyone to focus on their strengths and what they're good at. But then I was kind of blending your strengths with what you love, and actually they're totally separate. They can be separate. And so one of the quotes that was said is amateurs want to do what they love and professionals learn to love what it takes. And so I was thinking about that. It was a huge takeaway for me in the sense that you can still do what you love, but when you learn to love what it takes to grow your business, then that's where you start to see the change, at least for me. And so I'm kind of excited for that to change my mindset about, you know, only doing the things that I love. It's like, you don't even know. It's like when you take your kids somewhere and they don't want to do something, they've never done it before. And they're like, I don't want to do it. And then you make them do it and then they love it. Right. And so it's like, you don't know what you love until you try different things. And so anyway, just wanted to add that. I really love that.
That's good. It reminds me of different quotes about, you know, we're talking about prioritizing, really. You mentioned time blocking, but we're really talking about what's important, what's not. We all like things that don't move the needle. So the saying goes something like, be willing to give up something you like for something better, or give up something you love so that you make room for something better. Are we losing opportunities because we're just having fun and we're doing some of these things? Being willing to say, yes, I like doing this, but my time is better spent over here, and learn to love that too, because it's getting you closer to your goals or your legacy, or providing for your family, or securing your retirement. All of those things we all have to be conscientious about, and not just, wow, today was a great day, I had a lot of fun. Did I do anything to make money? No. All right, let's kind of move forward on this, and then anybody has obviously thoughts you want to share them. This was the last training we had. I think it's probably already posted on Facebook. I don't know, I'll check. But it was really good. I didn't know enough about the presentation by the title, the buyer seller dance, right? And so it was on the premise of a dance: who leads, who follows, and being purposeful about your conversations instead of let somebody else lead you where they want to go. If you're having this meeting for, you know, getting a client or whatever, then maybe you need to be the one leading and let them follow. So it was really good. I didn't have my notes out to share anything on this, but I'm going to readdress those because I learned a little bit from that training. And then this one, I hope you all can make this one. This is Wednesday. It's going to be down in Orem. It's a ways away, especially for you, Kaylee. Well, Shane and James, you got to drive too, but I think it would be totally worth it. And I think if you have any clients, friends down Salt Lake, Utah County way, try and invite them to this, because these, I mean, look at these three guys we got on the panel. I mean, Jake and Jordy and Josh, these guys not only know the market, and they have researched back opinions on where the market's headed, but all three of them are investing in the market in a big way. Like big way. I'm small fry compared to things these guys are doing. And so that perspective, when you're in the game and you're making decisions with your own money, and you've been doing pro formas on different multi-unit apartment complexes and different projects that you can invest in, you really get into the nitty gritty that most of us just theorize about, right? You do that with the storage units, right? You get deep level to make that decision, and it has to do with housing forecast. It has to do with the population of the area. It has to do with so much more than, do you think real estate's going to go up or down? What are the interest rates doing? Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is a good family. Where's this at? What time is this, Jeff? It doesn't have a time on there.
It's 10:30 was when we'll start proceeding. So it's our normal time slot, but 10:30.
Oh, so it's this meeting just at a different location.
Right.
Oh,
I'm trying to take some of these out of this office so we can get some participation from agents from other brokerages. So, but it's in Orem. Yeah, I just pulled this right before this thing. This is just Ashley's SEO image, but it's at a tax hive. Y'all, you know, you've got a text message. Look at the text message thread where you can see the full registration page. And it'll be a little bit longer just because of who I have on the panel and the discussion points, and each one of them are preparing a few slides, kind of like the investor panel you were on, a little bit of the same format, just to spark that conversation. And they all have been working on these presentations for their, just their normal course of business anyway. So they're just bringing it all together for us. So it'll be like more of an hour and a half instead of an hour, with hopefully some networking after. And we do have a lunch sponsor that's going to bring lunch. So please come. It's gonna be awesome.
Do you know the capacity, Jeff?
More than I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
Yep, I only have at this point, I think around 20 registrations. I'll send out some more reminders tonight. I encourage you to do some one-on-one invites, but the room, I'm pretty confident will hold like 80. It's a bigger room. If, depending on the size, we'll just kind of scrunch together in the middle. They got a nice stage and the stools up there for this format anyway. The owner of this building is just somebody that I've met through this networking I've been doing. And so yeah, we definitely have room. Don't be shy to invite too many.
Jeff, what's sorry, I'm still on
No, you're
that
good.
topic. The location that it's at, what's kind of the history of the owner on that?
So Sean Finnegan is the owner of the building, and I say it's at Tax Hive because that's the name of the building. Tax Hive is his business. And I think you asked this question on purpose because I've told you about him before, but he took his concept for this Tax Hive business on Shark Tank. So he's actually partners with Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank in this business. And he does about 18 other businesses as well. I don't know how he does it, but I'm talking about, developments down in southern Utah of like 1,200 units. I think he owns like 16 swigs and a dozen crumbles. So he's into development, he's into money lending, he's into startups. Super successful guy, but I met him and I was at a mastermind down there. He had invited me down to lunch and we were chatting. And one of the things he said in that mastermind was he has this room because he was talking to a lot of business owners. He was talking to networkers and stuff. He says, the more people that come through my door, the better it is for my business because they see me. It's like, this space is for you guys, please use it. And I'm like, okay, I'll take a slot. So I booked his room for this event and we may do more down there. And hopefully, network and meet some people that we wouldn't have otherwise. You never know who you're sitting next to.
I guess it's a really good invite for some of your investment clients and your SOI, not just realtors. I mean, anyone that goes to this is going to thank you for inviting them.
For sure. And I would think of that, like, who are the people in your sphere that either are investing or should be investing? Edify these guys too. I mean, like Josh and Jake, their holdings are in the hundreds and hundreds of units. I don't even know what it's up to now because I know that he acquired like over, I think it was over 20 or 30 million dollars just last year in new property acquisitions. So yeah, they're very successful. They're very analytical yet personal in their presentation, by communicating topics to where you can understand. You're right, Eric. I think anybody that attends would thank you for the invite and really get their minds thinking on being in this space. I mean, real estate is our, what did I hear? Warren Buffett just this morning on a podcast that that's like shorting the dollar. The dollar is turning to shit, right? And we got a lot more inflation coming our way. And he's like, if you have the ability to buy real estate and get a 30-year mortgage, you're shorting the dollar. And that alone is creating some security moving forward in your future. So helping people do that, Lynn and I get thanked all the time. Oh my God, I'm so glad you helped us buy when we did. I'm so glad you helped us turn our home into a rental property. I'm so glad. If it hadn't been for you, we wouldn't have done it. Because they need that guide, that running buddy, somebody to walk them through the process if they haven't done it before. Cool. So we're back at the office the week after that. Then the week after that, we're going back to Edge Homes. I know James and Shana know Tony Child pretty well. They're in his coaching program. but this is another kind of off campus, out of my office. This is gonna be at the corporate office of Edge Homes. Janine Otley is gonna sponsor that. That room will hold around 60 people. I'd love to fill that one up. But he's been in my office before, and most of the people that either I've introduced them to, or when I bring it up, one of the first things that they said is, my life has changed since I met you. So that would be a really good one on more of a personal development angle to invite your sphere to invite your investor friends, invite anybody. This is not, I mean, we want to network with realtors, right? And build our relationships and hopefully grow our little team here and stuff. But this is for everybody. You know, when you look at these topics, don't just think of your realtor friends, think of anybody you know. And that's all I got. The end. We've kind of been talking a little bit about agent attraction, but you got any thoughts on that, Eric? Any agent attraction that we haven't talked about?
Not specifically, just kind of what we've already discussed about Cabo. I think probably for me, the agent attraction piece is really about production, and that every event you go to, everything you see EXP is doing, and even people outside of EXP like Brent Gove, leaders, they are focusing on how can we help EXP agents be the most productive agents and really close more homes than anyone else. And that is probably the number one piece of agent attraction, right? Because outside of EXP, what do most agents want to do? They want to sell more real estate. They want more listings. They want more buyers. So that really should be absolutely one of the main focuses when you're talking to somebody about agent attraction is what can we do to help their business close more real estate? What could be better in their business? Fact find and say, hey, where are your pains? What would you like to do next year? How much would you like to close? What are your goals? Are you on target? Because EXP has some tools like Bundle Select and My Link, My Lead, and just some lead generation tools, and also one that just was released and talked about in Cabo too, that could be really exciting for agents that are not in EXP that would be looking at that. And then also we had a really good meeting with Matt and Patrick Ashby in Jeff's suite that was fantastic, discussing kind of the history and their story. When we first met, Matt Ashby, or I did on Zoom, I know he had 123 agents in his group. And that was my first exposure to EXP. And now they are at 1,937 as of what, Friday? Was it Friday? Yeah, pretty incredible story. Their life has completely changed. Both of them are pretty much living in Mexico now. There's if you're not familiar, son and father, Patrick and Matt, and their focus really is on production and what the stock program can do for top producers. So when you're thinking about EXP and who do I want to attract, I think when we first started out, Jeff, with agent attraction, I know we're actually going to the board of realtors, or not the board of realtors, but we were going to one of the local, real estate education companies and talking to agents right out of school and talking to them about EXP. And we had some agents join our team that had never been licensed, never worked anywhere with any other brokerage. And kind of interesting, kind of the shift that you and I have had on that recently. And I think it's because of where EXP agents come from and who is successful in the industry with EXP. And here's an interesting stat that actually was shared by Matt Ashby recently, and that's 4% of the 89,000, 90,000 agents in EXP, 4% have actually attracted 5 agents or more. So the number of agents that are actually attracting a lot of agents is very low in EXP. EXP is not really, most EXP agents aren't building a revenue share team, and it's not their number one focus. It is production. And as you've seen the stats recently, EXP is in the United States one of the number one top producing in selling real estate without the highest agent count, right? Jeff, is saying that correctly? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Is EXP training agents to become better, have better tools to sell more real estate? Yes. But I think the biggest thing is EXP is attracting top producing agents to come to EXP because of what they offer. And that's what I got out of the agent attraction piece that Matt and Patrick shared with us is find out, what people's goals are over the next 10 years. One of the questions that Patrick always asks is, say, how long are you going to sell real estate? How much longer are you going to sell real estate? And if somebody says 20 years, I say, well, let's cut it down to 10. Let's talk about the next 10 years. How many transactions do you do? And if they're selling 25, 30, 35 homes, like a really good producing agent, he'll run the numbers on what that would mean for them in stock ownership, given back from EXP in the Icon program. And it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in 10 years that agents are going to have that they wouldn't have had in any other brokerage. It has nothing to do with revenue share. And I really like that approach. If you want to sell more real estate and if you want to have a stronger retirement, EXP is the place to be, period, whether you do any revenue share or agent attraction at all. So for those of us that want to build agent attraction, want to build a team, focus on production and what it can do for those agents in retirement, and not necessarily, I love agent attraction, so I'm going to talk to you about agent attraction. I'm going to talk to you about revenue share because that's what I want. Focus on what they want and what they're looking for and how it can benefit them completely outside of revenue share. I thought that was a really, really interesting take on it. And obviously they reiterated that they are more than happy to help us all on Zoom calls and appointments to share their story, because they're directly a reason why we're in EXP. Matt Ashby and Jeff are the reason I'm with EXP now, so we can utilize that and help other agents. And it reminded me too of sharing something that can be really great and life-changing for an agent and not being selfish about it, right? Don't be afraid to share something that can be great for them and at least give them the opportunity to say yes or no to something that they could really be grateful and thank you about later. So, yeah.
Eric, one of the things I remember, I don't know if it was, what's Matt's son's name, Patrick?
Patrick's dead.
Oh,
Matt's
son. And anyway, I don't know whose numbers they were. This was about a year ago, so they might be a little bit out of date. One of the things that really struck me when they presented their agent attraction tree, how many first level, second level, third level people. And I think at the time he had about a 1,700 agent count under his tree. So it was probably a year ago. But the thing that really struck me is they had only recruited 24 or 25 first level agents. It wasn't like they were out there recruiting 1,700. They recruited 25, and from those 25, they got to 17. I thought that was interesting because my perception would have been, given what they had been doing and their success and so forth, that they would have done a lot more first level recruits.
Here's the thing about it. There was somebody on stage that had recruited like 72 people and had just over 100 in their group, right? So they're doing all that work. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but Matt, in our room, when we were just kind of having a little mastermind, he's got 1,937 people. They're working towards that 2,000 mark. We want to have a big party when they hit 2,000. He said he's got 5 in his entire organization that are builders. 5. So he's recruited that many, but not everybody's a builder. People are somewhere, they're just doing real estate and they're doing their thing. So it was the encouragement that it doesn't take that many.
Right.
Right? You get 1 or 2, and he said, really, if you get 1 in the States and 2 in 2 other countries, you're done.
Well, it's like any other MLM chain, right?
Mhm.
That's usually the way it works in MLM.
When somebody sees what you see and they want to do that. So Eric, I didn't want to interrupt you because you're saying such great stuff, but I wrote down a couple of comments on what you were just sharing with us. And I just lost my spot. So it's not about, this is from that same topic. It's not about what we say, it's about what we ask. So really, I really love you brought that up. It's like, so where's your, how much longer do you plan on selling real estate? Because if they say 10 years or whatever they say, they better have a plan in place besides just selling real estate. And I don't want to do it more than 10 years. Well, you're gonna be doing it the rest of your life unless you're doing something else that's gonna create some security for yourself. So he did lay out a really great example. If you get your production up and just with your stock awards and stuff, just by doing what you're doing, you are gonna have a nest egg. And then along with that comment on, it's not about what you say, it's what you ask. I also wrote down, he said, you don't get to decide what's valuable to other people. Like you said, Eric, sometimes we get excited about certain things, and so that's what we want to talk about. They may not give a shit. You know, it could just be production, it could just be community, it could just be rev share, it could just be stock. It doesn't have to be everything. So I thought that was really, really powerful.
Well, Jeff, I've in my corporate software world, from many, many years ago, I'd been involved in many trainings that, big expensive trainings that these companies put us through, right? On sales methodology, how do you sell? And it's always said slightly a different way, but conceptually it's the same thing. It's just what you said, is that 20 years ago, the old adage, you show up and throw up, right? You're telling everybody about how great you are, how great your company and your product is. There was a shift away from that to more of a consultative selling approach, that you have to understand your customers' needs, requirements, challenges, and you help them. It's not about you and your products, about how can you help them. So it's the same kind of thing said in a different way. And yeah, I mean, it's not like you're it's nothing new. It's just, you have to understand how you can help with it. And Zig Ziglar was that way too, right? How do you help other people become what they want? Then you'll get what you want. I mean, that's been around for what, 40, 50 years, right? So it's not a new concept. We just have to remember that. And the training we got was, just all about discovery. Exactly what you said, which is you have to ask the questions. You have to understand your customers' needs. Then you can help them or guide them. But if you don't do that, you're just, all you're doing is running your mouth. Well, you're probably not going to get what you need.
Right. Isn't it interesting, guys, when you think about it, it's like, that's exactly what we know to do with our potential clients that want to sell a house, is just find out what they need, find out why they're selling, find out how we can give them what they want. We're serving them. It's the same thing with the agents, right? We're not trying to close the agents. We're not trying to sell them on EXP. In fact, just even taking the recruiting out of it, that's you pulling them to you, right? But just same concept, ask those questions. I've said it a lot of times, but real estate should be a service-based industry, not referred to as a sales industry, because the training would be different. You get sales training and you're taught how to overcome objections and get to the close, right? Let people have their objections, but find out, what they want and find a way to give them to it. It's the same thing with agent attraction. Huh, Hillary? Oh, you're awesome. Hi, Shantae. You got in early this morning, so it's nice to see your bright face all up and at 'em today.
Yes, I'm sorry I was late, but I did get in at midnight. So
Well done.
I'm just
Yeah.
looking, did anybody get suntans while they were down there in Cabo?
yeah, it's a little cold
It's
here in
always
Oregon
suntan,
and Utah,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always tan. I actually got a tank top on.
It was I think 56 degrees yesterday in Utah, and it felt cold.
Yeah.
It's
It was
the warmest it's been in
pretty
4 months.
So, I've been in sales, my entire career, traveled, flew everywhere, but I'd never been to Cabo, ever. And it's so close. I mean, I've lived in
So
Utah and
fun.
California my whole life. And so I'm always mad that I've never been to Cabo. So me and my wife are gonna take a trip. We're gonna do a cruise to go to Cabo. So we did a Cabo cruise. And guess what? We started cruising down the San Diego coastline. The captain comes, oh, folks, we're not gonna be going to Cabo on this trip. There's a hurricane down there. So we didn't go
Oh,
to
that
Cabo.
was your redo cruise from COVID, huh?
And I didn't get to go to Cabo, so I've never been to Cabo. So
He had a cruise that got put off because of
Cool.
COVID, and then he hit a hurricane.
yeah, my cruising experience is not good. So if anybody asks me about cruising, I'm gonna say not for me.
That's too funny.
Well, you will have to make a plan to be at Cabo 25.
Yes.
Is there a
It's a
Cabo
great
25?
Yeah, they do it every year, every spring.
That's where the build's at every year?
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So they do it every spring in Cabo, and then they've been doing it in Texas in the fall. So we've been into San Antonio, we've been to Dallas several times.
Yeah, that's right. You did it in San Antonio last time, wasn't it?
Mhm. No, Dallas.
Oh, it was Dallas.
Mhm.
Okay.
We did get some news from Patrick and Matt too, that there's going to be a pretty major announcement that they're expecting in that within the next couple months about revenue share. That's going to be really, really good for EXP agents. And said it's a big deal, and it's really exciting. And we just don't have a lot of details on what it is yet, but I'm going to be checking my email every day because I think it's going to come out soon. So be aware that there's something that's going to be pretty fun.
We
That's-
hear that kind of talk at
that's
every
true.
event we go to, and that's another thing that I just love about being here is Glenn used to be an agent.
Yeah.
Glenn Sanford, our founder, he came from the world of being an agent. He understands what we need. He says all the time in interviews that his goal was to create a company that he would want to join if he were looking. And so he's coming from that perspective instead of, doing crowdfunding and then bringing in hedge funds or investors and this and that and raising capital to build a company. He's building it specifically for the agents. And so it's interesting. There's always talk like that. Hey, we've got something new coming up. It's going to make the agents keep more money in their pocket. It's going to make it to where what we're doing is better for you. Unlike some of the other companies, they're trying to actually cut commissions because that's an expense for them and they need to show a higher profit to their investor basis. And we're still over 70%. Even though we're publicly traded, we're over 70% founder and agent owned. So who controls the direction of the company, right?
Yeah.
Who are we talking to, Eric? I think you were with me. Was it Kurt Shewell? Maybe you weren't with me. We're just kind of talking about other brokerages and stuff because there's other cloud-based brokerages popping up. And I'm not picking on them or anything. I'm just kind of stating the difference between EXP being agent owned and founder owned over 70%. He says the people that started Real don't even own 5%. So it's hard to make decisions on the direction of the company when you control so little of it, right?
You can't.
Guys will be pushing us.
That's the point. You can't make decisions.
Maybe in the short term for foundational growth and publicity or whatever, but it's not sustainable that way. Oh, yeah. Good seeing you. We're about wrapping up anyway.
See you, Terry.
He's out. Well, anybody have anything else, or we'll just kind of wrap up and get on to our other lists that we have for today?
Yeah, I would just say about the event, the AI stuff is definitely something I'm gonna do a little time blocking and go back and dig more into that. There were some great examples, but I think the best thing about these events, and Cabo really is like the best. It's smaller, more intimate, it's more laid back, you get the opportunity to talk to more people. It's just the proximity is key. It really is to be surrounded and get to meet and connect with people that you've seen on Zoom, whether they're from our immediate team. Like I had never met Shayna and James before and got to people from Brent's 1% Club that I've been participating in with Eric, my Pro Insight team, getting to meet. I had briefly met Matt Ashby before, but not Pat. So that was just a pleasure getting to have that time to really collaborate as a team and have them share, you know, some really, really powerful tidbits with us. So just getting in the room with these people and putting a face to the name, building those relationships, whether it be for a referral in the future or just to build more inspiration to grow. And then I always recommend bringing guests, because for me, that's been something that has been really important to my business plan, to get people there. And I'm one of those people that tend to talk too much. And if I'm sharing about our company and the opportunities, I'll just like word vomit all over them. So if instead I can get them to an event so they can hear about our company for themselves, and they can figure out what really is important to them and what's not, that's been the most powerful thing for me. So this time it was fun I had 2 guests, and that was fun, and they should be coming on board soon.
Yeah, they talked a lot about the experience they had too. They're not here with us now, but I mean, isn't it incredible from taking them and bringing them to that event that they're almost like reselling us on it because they're so excited about what we're part of. It was really cool. They're awesome.
Great point. Great point.
And the other thing, Shante, you talked about meeting people in person that you kind of knew on Zoom or, you know, through here, meeting Matt and Patrick and everything. When they're the type of people that are offering their help and their services to help your business grow, it's a lot easier to reach out to them if you've initiated more of a personal relationship. I know that's true of me, and I don't reach out enough. But I know it would be easier to reach out to those that I've met in person and that we've shared contact information and stuff versus just somebody I knew on workplace.
Or
You know
just
what I
that
mean?
random person you end up sitting next to at the hibachi restaurant, or the person sitting next to you in the hot tub. You're having fun and you find out how small our EXP world really is and how the playmakers really do show up at the events. So I'm happy to continue to grow and be part of the team and be a playmaker. It's gonna happen.
I love it. I love it.
I think one thing that came to my mind, and for the next one, you could really go into it like more intentional. If you notice, like if I was a Las Vegas agent and knew how many people were moving from Las Vegas to California, I would reach out. I don't know if it would be on somewhere on the workplace, be like, hey, my goal is to meet like 10 agents from California or something like that. And then just because meeting those people in person, it's similar to, now I'm starting to sound like Jeff, like pitch 59. It's just, you're more likely to get that referral if you meet that other agent in person. And if you could grow your network like that, specifically state by state or whatever patterns you see at the time, I think that would be at least a little bit more focused way to meet people.
Yeah, I hear about people doing that all the time. And even Brent has talked about that, where at events, like you could schedule with him you have to probably schedule in advance, right? But he'll pencil out like 15-minute, 30-minute lunch blocks. And sometimes he'll do like 4 breakfasts just so that he can meet with a number of people. But whether it's a small group of people or one-on-one, it is a great way to connect. Or whether you participate in something like the military network or any of the young professionals network that appeals to a lot of people. I hear about that a lot at EXPCon also.
You know, James, you mentioned that it's a lot easier to refer somebody you've met in person. I really should ask Lynn to do the numbers for me because she gets several referrals a year. And I'm just curious now that you brought that up, is like, what have we spent going to these events and how much commission has Lynn earned from referrals from the people that she's met at that events? That'd be interesting for me to look into.
One thing I wanted to add about referrals is we met an agent in the pool. She actually spoke, and what was really cool about her is she says she focuses on, rather than being an agent to meet people to get referrals, is she focuses on being an outgoing referral agent. And she had at the time $3.8 million in referrals. And she, and she says if it's over $1 million, I charge 30%. If it's under $1 million, it's 25%. Anyway, so she just connects people like Jeff likes to do, and she just connected with a bunch of agents. She's got 3.8 million in referrals. I don't know the math on that, but it was so easy for her to just be like, oh, there's an agent for you. So I thought that was really cool and simple, to be more of a giving mentality rather than wanting to receive all the referrals.
Mhm.
Plus, when you give, it's the best commission check you ever get, right?
Well, this is the lady that drove the Shelby Cobra. And so like she basically started real estate again, I want to say, I don't know, in her would say 50s or 60s. And now that's where she's at. Just she has her niche as far as waterfront properties on the East Coast, knows what she wants, and she's doing exactly that. So very cool.
She's also always the first person in line for any event to save seats for her team.
And if you've been to multiple
Yes.
events, you've seen her.
I have talked to her many times and been second in line.
Which is very admirable, Shanta.
Yes, we appreciate your sacrifice to save seats for us. Does
I
not
love
go
her too.
unnoticed.
Well, let's bring more people next year and do it again.
Yes, let's do it. Are any of you planning on going to Miami for EXPCon?
Yes.
I hope so.
I hope so too. That should be a good one too. It's the first time it's been in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
EXPCon's usually been in Vegas, and I've never been to Miami, so.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Love you all.
Okay.
This is where
Bye.
we break.
Have a good day, guys.
All right. Yeah. See ya.
See you guys.